Um, okay, so we're not expecting anyone, I guess. Your students are ready and watching, I think, Mr. Mazen, right? Um, okay, I'm wrapping it up. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our new session of the Turkish University webinar series. My name is Gizem, and I'm the Educational Counselor and Marketing Specialist at MEDU Istanbul office. Today, we're going to be talking about studying in Turkey and learning more about one of the best universities in Turkey. Our guest today is from Sabanci University. First, we will listen from him, get to know to their university better, and then we will have a Q&A session after that. Don't forget to write down your questions during the webinar because we will do them at the end of this session. And without further ado, I'm leaving the microphone and our guest, Sabanci University, is here. Thank you for joining us today again, Mr. Chan. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to join you. Thank you for setting up this organization. I guess I'll start with as quick as I can. I'll do like a short presentation. So I'll just share my screen with you. 1 second. Just let me know if you have any trouble seeing it, or I think it should be visible right now, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So as I said, I'll try and keep everything short. To start with, I'm Can. I work in the International Relations Office at Sabanci University. I handle recruitment from the region in general. It's very exciting for us to actually talk with you with your school, because we've been getting a lot of applications over the last few years from your school directly, and we have some enrolled students already from the past years. So it's also why we were so willing, let's say, so happy to do this event. To just talk about the university briefly, first of all, the university is located in Sabanci University is located in Istanbul, Turkey, on the Anatolian side, the Asian side. We're a bit away from the city center, around 45 minutes or so. Here you can see an aerial view of the university's campus. The most important thing that we always like to share here is on the right side, all the red roofed buildings, those are our on-campus dormitories. Do let me know if my internet connection has some issues. To move on, I'll talk about the faculties that we have. So we have in reality 3 faculties, actually. I know there are 4 listed here, but the faculties that we have are the Business School, the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, and the Engineering and Natural Sciences faculties. The School of Languages is basically only for English preparatory here. Now I'll just talk a bit about Sabancı Holding in general. So the university gets its name from Sabancı Holding, which is a very large company in Turkey owned by the Sabancı family. The family itself and the corporation itself is involved in quite a lot of different sectors within Turkey. And they are one of the wealthiest families within the country. They built the university around 20 years ago as a sort of philanthropy project, basically. Of course, the benefit of this, let's say, for our students largely comes in with regards to internship opportunities and obviously employment opportunities after graduation. So to build up on that, let me just give you some very quick numbers about the university as well. One thing that is important about Sabancı when a student is trying to understand Sabancı, very important to know that the university is actually a very small university. We have only like around 5,000 students maximum, including grad students. That has been the design of the university since day one, and the university has not really desired to expand that number as the years have passed. The reason for this is because the university is very research focused, and they want to keep a small student pool to whom they can provide the best education that they can. So our faculty to student ratio, for example, is one of the lowest in Turkey. We have around 600 to 700 international students in a given year, including exchange students. Like those 537 listed there are basically all undergrad students, including grads and exchange students. The number increases up to around 15% or so. of the given student body in any given year. Perhaps the most important slide of the entire presentation is this one, so I'll take my time a bit here. So the education system at Sabanci University is a bit different than most of the Turkish universities. Basically, if you're familiar with American universities, that might you'll be used to this as well. In Sabanci University, when students start their education at the university in their first year, they do not actually have a specific program. So you enroll as a Sabanci University student, and in their first year, you take shared courses alongside every other student in the university. It's only after this first year, which we call the foundation development year, that students are able to then choose their major and start their programs directly. This gives a lot of freedom for students to choose what they want to study because there is absolutely no limitations. So a student can start the university, let's say you wanted to apply to psychology when you wanted to, in your initial application. But after you came to the university and you learned more, you decided, you know what, like I'm actually interested, let's say in computer science. You can actually just swap over to computer science instead. During your declaration, there are no limitations, no GPA requirements, no limit, like no requirement of any kind, to be honest. So if it's like whatever you want to study, you're free to study that. I think that includes double major opportunities and minors too, of course. As I said, the flexibility is something that we're very proud of, and our students usually benefit pretty largely from. And the system actually, every year we do check the numbers, and there are a lot of departmental changes because after you start the university, students sometimes realize that some courses are not what they expected that they would be. But there is also a downside to the system, which is again very important to talk about, which is that in the first year, the foundation development year, the courses are mandatory, basically. So you do not actually have electives on your first year. And as I said, this year is something that you have to pass before you're able to actually make your declaration, either in your second year's beginning or at the end of your second year. So the courses that you take on your first year in the foundation development program, as you can see, they include a variety of different subjects. The idea here is to give you a good foundation for later in your life, actually, more than giving you a foundation for university studies directly. So there are major works courses of which you select a few. There's like project courses in which you basically volunteer. And there's like computational courses, history courses. But one important thing is that as we move forward, you'll see that we do have like some courses such as visual arts, for example, which are quite removed from math requirements during our high school studies. But in that first year, we still request the entire student body to take calculus alongside engineers. So as I said, like possibly a bit of a negative point, but important to mention and important to think about when you're applying to Sabanci University, because the university will be asking you to take calculus in your first year. So if you have math issues, something to, as I said, something to keep in mind. That said, moving on, as I mentioned, we are very research focused. So here you can see just like a sort of overall numbers basically about our laboratories and research centers. I'll talk more about some of them later in the presentation as well. But suffice to say that the university is one of the most active research universities in the country with regards to both industry collaboration, state collaboration, and just international research, publishing numbers, and so on and so forth. And we do have the rankings sort of as well to prove it. The outcome of this is reflected in our rankings, which you can sort of see here. Basically, in Turkey, we changed swap places with some of the other top universities, but in the last perhaps decade, we've always been within the top 3 on most rankings internationally. Some of the rankings that we're most proud of are, for example, the world's best small universities ranking. As I mentioned, the university is population-wise around 5,000. That ranking is basically for universities that are sub 5,000 on population. We're actually the 27th best university in the world in that group. The Asia University rankings, again, including China and Japan, we're 48th, which is again something that we're proud of. In Young University ranking, like we're also proud of that. That's basically for universities which are under 50 years of age. So again, like rankings obviously don't mean that much in the end of the day, but again, it's like a good way of showing the focus that the university has on research and on education quality is reflected outwards as well. And you can see here some of our subject rankings, which again we're quite proud of, especially for engineering and computer science. Our rankings have been quite high for the last few years, some of the highest in Turkey amongst any subject. So we also wanted to share those as well. That said, I'll now enter the faculties a bit. So we, as I said, have three major faculties. The business school has only one undergraduate program, which is the management program, management/business administration program. And there are then several minor programs that you can take. Basically, all the programs, all the faculties, and all the departments we have, they're all open to complete double major combinations. So you can do any combination of double major that you want within the university's departments. And for minors as well, you're free to choose whichever minor from whichever faculty you wish, regardless of the program that you're studying. So as I said, these are the minors and the programs that we have on the business school. For the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, we have an economics degree, international relations, political science degree, visual arts and visual communications degree, and psychology, as I mentioned earlier. And you can again see the minors on the bottom left side. And then for our Faculty of Engineering and Natural Sciences, the programs that we have are computer science, electronics engineering, industrial engineering, material science, mechatronics, and molecular biology. Once again, you can see the minors on the bottom as well. Once again, as I mentioned earlier, the university focuses very heavily on research. Here you can see some of our research centers that we have. We're quite proud of some of these. It should be Sugender is one of our most popular social sciences research centers, which is relatively influential within the country even. Sunum, the Nanotechnology Research and Application Center, is the largest of its kind in the region. It is something that we run alongside cooperation with the Turkish government directly. That does some incredibly cutting-edge research, including like cancer research and almost like very, very high advanced genetics research. The Center of Excellence in Finance, again, is very, very strong as far as our research centers go. So basically, the university's research interests encompass a very wide selection of different fields, and from undergraduate on, like you don't have to be actually a graduate student to be partake in any of the activities or in any of the projects that they have. From undergraduate on, you can start getting involved, either for for postgraduate opportunities or even for your professional life. It will be something that is very, very beneficial. That said, I'll move a bit more now to talking about student life and graduation numbers and so on and so forth. First of all, I'll start with talking about the exchange programs that we have. So for those of you who might not be aware, exchange programs is basically you can spend 6 months to a year of your education in a different university in a different country, basically. This can be, as you can see, like from the listing on the right side, we have partners across the world in several different countries. Generally, what we like to say is, you can find a partner wherever education systems are good. And another important thing to mention here is that this is all funded by the university. So wherever in the world you might choose to study for 6 months to a year, as I mentioned, let's say you want to go to Australia, the university will be providing you with funding for the travel costs, for accommodation over there. You will even get some money, again, directly provided by the university to cover your day-to-day living costs. So this isn't something that is exclusive to being able to, let's say, afford living there, but it's something that we encourage very heavily. We are one of the universities that sends the highest percentage of its students every year, and we receive, of course, not in COVID years maybe, but like in normal years, we receive several hundred students internationally from top universities within their countries. So it's something that we really like to emphasize as a strength of the university. Again, in the same vein, our career development and internship office also gives a lot of opportunities to students. So the reason I say in the same vein is because we also really support internships abroad. So for example, if you want to do your internship, let's say in Germany, the universities there are like certain industrial collaborations that university has, or you might just find a company of your own that you found an internship with. University will again be funding most of your costs, so you can go abroad and do your internship over the summer, and then you can come back to the university and continue. And we also have like the same office that handles these internships also helps you with career development. So as you're graduating, they will also try and send your CV to top companies in Turkey and so on. So like we do really assist students with getting that first step out into the rest of their life after they graduate. So let's talk about the rest of our students' life so far, our alumni. As you can see, the majority of them obviously are in Turkey, since the majority of our alumni are Turkish. But we do send quite a lot of our alumni to Europe and North America. They continue their either postgraduate or career, their professional careers after they graduate in different continents as well. Again, one thing that we are quite proud of, listed on the bottom left of the slide, 97% of our graduates continue their either professional life or their postgraduate life within a year of their graduation, which is again one of the highest percentages of its kind in Turkey. So it is something that we are really very, very proud of. Here you can see some of the top universities that our university students go after they graduate. There are two things that we like to emphasize here. First of all, we are not, listing, I don't know, like let's say MIT there, just because 6 years ago we sent one student over to MIT. All of the universities that are listed here are consistently places that our alumni go to. The second thing that we like to emphasize is actually about that. So it's a good idea to look at some top research universities in Turkey, not only Sabanci University, but other top research universities in Turkey as well, with the lens of a stepping stone. So you might, currently might not have the grades or might not have the economic, opportunities or the chance of getting a scholarship, for example, to continue and study in MIT. But you can study at a top university in Turkey, with good connections academically, with good connections professionally even, if you're interested in that as well. And then you can use the connections that the academia has, the recognition that the university has, and then choose to do your master's or PhD at some of these top universities. Again, that is something that a lot of our students do, so it is absolutely something that we encourage as well. And professionally speaking, that is actually a very similar experience for our graduates once more. So once students graduate, they are able to find job opportunities in some top companies across the world. Like when we say Google here, for example, we do not actually mean Google as in some sort of data hub in Istanbul. We're actually talking about graduates who go on to work in the Silicon Valley, etc. Moving on. Here you can see a layout of where our international students come from overall as a percentage in the Far East. The countries that are most dominant there are basically Azerbaijan, like the Turkish Central Turkish republics, and then Pakistan. But of course, there's a very, very large part of our students, around 45%, in fact, that come from what you can call like the Arab world. So like on campus, that is generally the largest student body that we have. Instead of just being focused on one or two countries, it's more like a region. But we also, are starting to increase our numbers from Europe and Africa as time goes on. Here you can see some information about our accommodation options. As I mentioned earlier, we do have dormitories on campus. The cost of the room is written below, so you can tell from there too that we have a 2-person and 4-person room available within the dormitories. One thing that is important, again, is that we have dormitory scholarships available. So for any international student who would like to stay in one of the dormitories, for example, if you get a dormitory scholarship, then the 4-person room is completely free of charge. And if you want to stay in a 2-person room, you just pay the difference between them. The rooms are guaranteed to international students as long as you want to study. And that ties in with the next slide. The campus is built in a way, as I again mentioned earlier in the presentation, the campus is a bit outside the city center, but the campus is built in such a way that you can really find practically everything that you need in your day-to-day life within the campus. So like a hairdresser, a bank, library, obviously, supermarkets, health center that is actually quite well equipped, etc. So the campus is really quite large, and it covers most needs that students have. So a lot of our international students do choose to actually stay in the dorms for the majority of their education life. And that, of course, also connects to the social opportunities that the campus brings. We have a lot of clubs, some of which are very sort of big driving factors to some of our students, especially within Turkey. Like, for example, our sailing club is generally very, very popular. In the same vein, we have a lot of sports teams which are competing in various inter-university leagues within the country. Which obviously are all open to our international students for participation, whether it be a club or for the sports teams. All of that said, I'll now quickly get into the more tricky parts of the presentation, let's say, the application. So applications are currently open right now. They opened up in the 15th of January. They will be continuing until the 5th of August. You can make your application online. There is an application fee, as you can see from this year. We've introduced an application fee for this year. It is basically $30, which can be paid via online payment methods as usual during the application. You can find the requirements to the left side. Basically, you do not actually have to have a SAT score or a TOEFL or language exam score. You can just apply with your high school, documentation and transcripts. But we do generally suggest that if you want a high scholarship, that taking the SAT in that case is actually beneficial. For the English exam requirement as well, we do not need the TOEFL score and IELTS score. You can instead, after you've gotten admission with your scholarship and after you've decided to actually join the university, right before the registrations, we have our own English exam, which you can take. So you can fulfill the language proficiency requirement that way as well, and by just taking our exam when you want to. The process itself, as we mentioned, like when you've made your online application and filled all the documents, the process after that can take 4 to 5 weeks, because we do have a separate faculty and scholarship committee. Compared to most Turkish universities, we do take the application evaluation process quite seriously. So we'll be in touch with you very, very quickly upon you making the application. Usually in a day or two, we'll be communicating with you already. But just the application decision itself might take some time, so just heads up. And finally, the most depressing information about the university, because we're one of the most highly ranked universities in the country, we're also sadly one of the most expensive universities in the country. All of our tuition, all of our bachelor programs have the same tuition fee, which is $19,500 per year. We do provide scholarships ranging from 25% to 100%, based largely on academic merit, but we do have a quite holistic way of approaching applications. So we will check everything, that you might feel beneficial. You can always feel free to send them to us during the application to get a higher chance of, getting the scholarship that you need. And we're very, very open to communicating. You can obviously, apply to us through MEDU, who is organizing this event. And, we do always try and find the expectation of our students or the scholarship that they need in cooperation with, again, our partners. So there's no real need to be too concerned. Basically, we are not incredibly strict when it comes to the application process. But of course, as I said, academic merit is a part of the scholarship process. And that's it. Here you can see some of our social media channels, which are quite active, and our email addresses. Which if you want to have any questions later on, of course, I'll be happy to answer anything right now as well. And once again, you can also get in touch with us through our partners such as MEDU. And that's it from me. Are there any questions at the moment that we have? Let me see.
Before we go and proceed with the Q&A, thank you, Can, by the way, for this great presentation. Before we switch to the Q&A, I just want to present our founder, Mr. Ebib, and he just wants to say hi to you guys and talk about MEDU for just a little short period, and we will get to questions.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Mazen, which makes this happen. Thank you, Mr. Mazen. You immediately replied to our request and make this happen with Darjana School. Thank you, Chan, for the great information about Sabanci University. Sabanci University is one of our favorites, as you know. Guys, I don't want to make it that much long. I just want to tell you about Turkey rather than about Sabanci University. Studying in Turkey nowadays is becoming a kind of a trend in the recent 4 or 5 years, where Turkey is right now in the 10th place worldwide about the number of international students. Right now there is 185,000 international students in Turkey. And the students are mainly from all over. I mean, you can find American students over here, Chinese students over here, Arab students over here as well, from Africa, from Brazil, from everywhere. Why is that? This is because of Turkey is one of the top 20 in the greatest economies in the world. This is number one. Number two, Turkey is a kind of in the middle of the world. So rather than traveling to the United States from the GCC area, from Saudi Arabia or from Dubai, for about 13 hours, Istanbul is only a 4 or 5 hours flight from all GCC countries, from Egypt, from Africa, from Asia as well. So Turkey is coming in the middle. And at the same time, Turkey's university in the last 10 years are making a very good progress. And Sabanci University is one of those universities. I mean, they are getting a high ranker a high ranking year and after year. There are a lot of Turkish universities who are ranking between 200 and 500, 500 and 1,000 around the world. Maybe Sabanci University is ranking somewhere as a young university, even in the very good numbers. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chan, it's below the 200. So we are moving forward to have a very good education over here. Further, most of the students travel for America and for Australia, for Canada. It's not that much affordable. Over here in Turkey, the student can afford studying in one of the universities in Turkey. This is about studying in Turkey. What about us as a MEDU? As MEDU, we are partner of most of the universities, very good quality universities over here, like Sabanci University, Bilkent University, Bahçeşehir, and many, many others. You can see them, guys, from our portal, which had been sent to Mr. Mazen before, and which is shared with you. You can find a very good collection of Turkish university with around 6,500 program taught in those universities. There are amazing programs from intelligence to the cyber, to the agriculture, to the petrol, to medicines. And by the way, medicine in Turkey has an advantage of, in Canada, you need to study about 3 years as a science student. Then you go for medicine if you pass the exam. And UK is the same, but over here in Turkey, studying medicines is around only 6 years, and you start immediately with the studying medicine. Further, Turkey right now ranking as number 16 in the world in the health sector overall, not only in teaching medicine, but in the health sector overall, it's about number 16. Guys, I don't want to talk too much. I want you to have the question to Mr. Chahan and to Gizam as well. Whatever you have in mind about Turkey, about Sabanci University, please hit them with your questions, and we are there to answer. If you find that there are some questions which are not answered, please drop your email, which you will see it on the screen by the end of this session. Drop any email for Gizem, and she is willing to answer all of your questions. Mr. Mazen, one more time, thank you very much. أنا بتشكركم جميعا، وهوبفولي إني أشوف أسئلتكم وأشوف الاستفسارات تبعتكم لحتى نقدر نساعدكم ولحتى نقدر إنه نجاوب جميع الأسئلة. التيم عندنا هون بيتكلم العربية، بيتكلم الإنجليزية، وبيتكلم الفارسية أيضا، بالإضافة إلى التركية. أي لغة بتحبوا تتواصلوا معنا فيها نحن جاهزين لحتى نجاوبكم على كل الأسئلة. شكرا لكم.
I'm back. So guys, okay, we can answer your questions now. Okay, I see some questions. Is there a dentistry undergraduate program? Nabil asked. Unfortunately, Sabanci University do not offer dentistry. However, Nabil, if you can share your email address, I will be happy to send you options for dentistry in Turkey. So Nazih Barkhout, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. I'm sorry. Isn't Sabancı a city? I think you're mistaking it with Sapanca. Sabancı and Sapanca is different, but you're right. Sapanca is a city.
It's a very common question that we get, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Nabil, for sharing your email address. Okay, guys. No one has a question? It's a nice city, actually. Yes, that's right.
It is, yeah. Sabancı has a very beautiful lake. Our campus also has a lake. It's not as beautiful as Sabancı, of course, but like there's still one at least. So if you would like to get that Sabancı feeling, the university does, copy it somewhat.
Okay. Your presentation actually very informative. So I guess they got everything they wanted to know.
Yeah, it could be. Again, in the future, guys, if anybody has any questions later on, you can reach us through MEDU. I think they shared their email addresses already. So feel free to always, reach us in the future as well.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to end this here then, and we're going to girls section. Thank you so much again, Can, for joining us today.
Thank you very much as well.
Darjana students had higher rankings in Sabancı last year.
We have, just to talk about Darjana students last year, we do get a lot of applications from Darjana every year, and we do we have registered a couple of students in the past years. I think every year in the last few years we've had at least a few students. The students are quite successful after they've started their studies, correct? If that's what you're asking. Like, I'm not exactly sure of their rankings within the international student body, but it is a school that we like quite a bit, just because of the students that we have gotten the last few years. So hopefully it'll continue this way in the future too.
Okay. All right, we're wrapping this up. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you again, Mr. Mazen, and hope to see you on the next one. All right. See you.
Bye. Goodbye.